Awesome. All right, man, we'll get it rolling. Welcome back to the E-Team Sponsored Podcast. This is Sean Connors, CEO with E-Team Sponsor. Pleasure to be joined by one of my fellow coaching comrades, Mr. Travis Rundle, head football coach at Sewanee, the University of the South. And Travis, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. Excited to be talking to you. Known you guys for a long time, especially Steve Jacoby, yourself and your brother. So excited to be doing this.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for coming on board. And this is it's fun to talk, fun to talk ball, but fun to talk about a lot of the other things that are going on, especially right now. And looking forward to covering all of that with you. Just catching up with you here. Number one, I know we had a chance to talk a little bit before we started recording, but take me through the last 90 days. How have things been going down there at Sewanee and the football program, and how have you guys been? How have you been leading right now?
Yeah, I think obviously it's been a lot different than 90 days than what you're typically used to. Our student athletes all left campus right before. Well, they left for spring break and didn't come back, and so we've been trying to find ways to be creative to keep the entire team engaged, and all the team leadership that we had done, team chemistry that we've done, just find a way to keep it rolling and being creative. And I think our assistant coaches have done a great job of coming up with ideas. Same with our players. We have everybody that's on a big rolling Google chat, so the guys can keep track of each other with what they're doing over the summer, and mainly talk trash to each other too. I think that's probably the biggest thing that they do. Our seniors will post videos every week, just getting guys motivated, like, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's what you should be doing so we're ready to go in August. Every Thursday night we do like a Netflix party. The guys will vote on a movie to watch, and so they'll all get together and watch that movie and then type in the comments. Same thing, usually talking trash to each other as you go through it. But I think it's been good. Our guys have done a really good job responding and recognizing that this is different, and doing everything that we've been asking them to do with that. And then the other thing too is just finding a way, like leadership wise, of how do you handle what's definitely been going on with everything. And I think one thing that we decided to do, it really happened sitting in front of my TV Thursday night in Minneapolis, when the police building was on fire. Was watching that news coverage. That morning and afternoon, we'd had 2 meetings, and we just were talking about leadership, asked a couple different questions. We'd have the team break up into small meeting rooms on Zoom, and they would discuss, and we'd come back together and kind of talk about what was going on. And was just reading through all their responses, because they would type them in the chat box, and then I just copied all that, put it in a Microsoft Word document, just so I could see everything, was reading through it. And then all that stuff was happening. And, I was thinking about myself, like, am I what the players are looking for in a leader? Like, am I leading by example? How do I go about making sure we're doing things the right way? And just really felt like, all right, I need to step outside of our bubble. And so the idea of creating what we call, for just a lack of a better name, is just called the Home Vote Advantage. And it's a movement getting student athletes across the country, all sports, to vote by an absentee ballot. So you're having an impact on your hometown elections. So who your sheriff is, the judges, your governor, your mayor in your hometown versus your college of where you go to school. And we have through the Turbo Vote platform at Sewanee here, we created a link that allows, it's really easy. You can register online if your state allows it, right through that link. I think there's 40 states that allow you to do it. And then 30 days before the election, it's going to send you your application to vote by absentee ballot, whatever state you live in. It'll either be by mail or email. And then when it comes time for the absentee ballot to be sent out, it's sent out right to you. You just fill it out, send it back. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just getting, our student athletes feeling like they have a voice in their hometown versus their program. I think you look at our roster here at Sewanee, this is how it started. I was looking at our roster. We have like 90 players, and 0 are from the county where our college is located. And so it did make sense to me to have everybody like, hey, November 3rd, the whole team, we're going to go vote. You're voting on, our community members, and that's not, it's probably not what our community wants, and it's also not what the student athletes want. I think your vote should be where it has an impact with your friends and family back in your hometown. And so I've spent, the last few days, just really last week, just reaching out to coaches I know, like Steve Jacoby, passing the word. At UCLA, the coaching staff there is on board. Coaching staff at Ohio State, Navy, spoke with Penn State, Georgia Tech, and then a lot of other smaller schools, which is really where my connections are, and a lot of Division II, Division III. And those guys are all excited about it and can't wait to kind of put that to their team and give them that option.
Awesome. Awesome. I mean, it's such a great story to learn about. When Steve shared it with me, I thought, my goodness, we've got to get Travis on the podcast and have him talk about it a little bit. What was really the impetus for it? I mean, was there something was there something that you read from the notes from one of your players? Is it something you saw? Was it accumulation of things? Take me through kind of what really was the impetus for you to bring that together.
Yeah, I think, in the leadership stuff, it was the basic stuff, guys that lead by example. When you're looking for a captain, somebody that you want to play hard for, somebody that's going to be there when things aren't going well. And so you're just looking at that. I'm like, all right, how do I apply that to what's going on? And the easiest way for our student athletes to have an impact, because they're young, and they don't have money to donate to any one cause that they want to, but the easiest way to get involved is to vote. And it was looking at, all right, like how can our student athletes and other really student athletes across the board have a big impact on their vote? I just thought, maybe their hometown, and then you start looking at, it's really hard to vote in college sometimes if you don't know about the whole absentee ballot and then making it work, when the dates are. You're going to get involved with classes and in the sport that you're in if you're a fall sport athlete. So keeping track of those dates, to remember, like, all right, this is when I have to apply, and this is when I have to send it back. And this platform through TurboVote keeps track of all that for you. So it's really easy. That was probably the easiest thing. I know coaches and athletes, they're not going to do it unless it's right there in front of them. If they have to search out and see something, it's not happening.
Sure.
And so I just wanted to make sure that it was something that was easy. It's automatically tracked. And I think this is a good way to get it done.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. And I think the buzzword that we keep hearing recently has been change, right? Like, if you don't like what's going on in the world, then go vote for change. And I love the approach that you've taken. You've taken this educate and empower approach. You've educated your team, your student athletes, on how they can make an impact. And it's one thing to educate them, but it's also to bring them the tools. You've empowered them by pointing them in the right direction. And like you said, put it right in front of them. So, there is no excuse. It gives them the opportunity to go affect change in their local community. I just think it's a brilliant idea. And it sounds like a lot of coaches across the country have gotten on board with it as well. Is there a number or an impact that you're looking to make? Have you maybe quantified it or looking at it from a qualitative standpoint?
I haven't. It's just been, hey, here's what it is. If you want to do it, do it. I think that's, I'm not trying to, shove it down anybody's throat. And two, we're not trying to pass an agenda on anything. This is the information you have. Make your own informed decision. We're not trying to push any one side beliefs or anything. This is the information, and have at it. Do what you think is best for your community.
I love it, man. This is we need more people like you, Travis, out there in the world. That really it's not just about toting an agenda or a billboard and taking no action. You're action oriented by doing this. That's awesome. That is great.
Yeah, I didn't want to just be the person that puts the blanket statement out on Twitter and then nothing happens. Like that. And then you're right back where you are in 3 months. When the next incident happens. It's how do you get moving forward? Absolutely.
Yeah, action oriented. I love it. And a wise man once said that nothing ever gets finished on social media. It's where everything starts, but nothing ever gets finished there. So love to see you taking the steps, and what a great opportunity for your student athletes to learn about this process. And it's such an important, I think maybe almost a lost value in our country here, that a younger generation understand the importance and the value and the impact that they can make when it comes to voting, regardless of what you're voting for. Just the impact that you can make. And I love love the fact that you're creating meaningful impact for your student athletes. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, talk to me. You've got an awesome background, man. I mean, from a football standpoint, you come from a coaching. Your dad's one of the winningest football coaches in the history of the oblong spheroid sport, man. I mean, he's been around a long time, did it for a long time. I know you've had the pleasure of being able to coach with him, but also coach at various other places. I think you've coached at just about every level in the college ranks. I know you spent some time in the NFL. So you've probably been influenced by a number of people. Talk to us a little bit about, from a leadership standpoint, who influenced you the most and why?
Yeah, I think obviously number one, my dad had probably the largest influence. For as long as I can remember, I was always around practices, games. We used to sleep in the dorms in preseason camp. That was always cool. And I think it gave my mom a break in the summertime, so she enjoyed that. But I think that was definitely the biggest impact on me. And just seeing the way that he had an impact on players when they would contact him after they graduated, just to say hi or stop by and let them know what's going on, and really got to see, like, that was the part of coaching I loved, is you had a chance to make an impact on young men's lives when they're pretty impressionable, by acting the right way, treating them the right way, work hard, be a great leader for them. That was probably the biggest impact on me, is just doing right by the student athlete. And that's something we've continued to do. And then had an amazing opportunity to be at Penn State for 7 years on Coach Paterno's staff. Learned a lot from Coach Paterno on how to run a true program, still keep the focus on academics, so guys are graduating with meaningful degrees and doing a good job there. Coach Vanderlinden, who was the linebacker coach there at the time, had a really big impact as well. Coach Johnson was the D-line coach. He's now at Ohio State. He took me. I was a quarterback in college, and all of a sudden I get to Penn State. Now I'm the defensive line graduate assistant, and I had never, spent my whole life running away from D linemen, and now I'm trying to put guys up to get them in the NFL. And you had to wear a shirt and tie at Penn State in the office, and so Coach Johnson and I are in shirt and ties and going over in the meeting room all the defensive line technique play. And he is a large man. Like, that was I was sweating pretty good, getting all that. But the impact too that Coach Johnson had on recruits and also players, his ability to really connect at a different level than just, hey, I'm the coach, you're the student athlete. His ability to connect with young men, that really stood out, and learned a lot from him. And then Coach Norwood, who was the DB coach, learned a lot from him, and just how you operate, family first. So I was always taking notes, always watching, being able to be there for 7 years definitely really helped out, and was surrounded by some great coaches with those guys.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's great to hear that so many of these men, these leaders in your life have had a profound impact on you, but not just at the time, but you've obviously carried that with you. And that's what a treat for your student athletes, for your family, to be able to reap the fruits of the labor that you've put in over the years and soaking up that knowledge. We love talking about how athletics has unlocked opportunity for you. Looking at your story, and again, knowing your background, coming from the senior coach Rundle. Talk to us about how athletics has unlocked opportunity for you in your life.
Yeah, I think it's been everything. Going to college and being fired up about going to college. I think that was just the ability to play sports. And then afterwards, obviously, being a graduate assistant and getting a master's degree paid for. And so being able to, leave college with, zero debt. Athletics provided that, and that probably wouldn't have happened otherwise. And then was able to play overseas in Europe, and that was my first experience of traveling overseas. It was in Vienna, Austria. Same thing. Like, I probably wouldn't have done that without sports. But probably the biggest thing is stuff that you learn while you're playing. And, just being a quarterback, you can't let things affect you from what you're trying to achieve. And whatever the situation is, like 3rd and 13, man, you got to pick up the first down. And however it happens, right, you got to get it. And that's kind of the mindset that I've taken really just with everyday life. Like, all right, here's the issue or the problem. Here's what I have to work with, and how do I get it solved? And just continue to work hard, put your head down, and keep going. and with just really like an unyielding faith in success, right? Like if you work hard, you're going to get it. And that's all stuff that you learn in athletics, of working hard and knowing too that you're going to fail in some things, but you got to get back up and keep going. And just knowing how to handle adversity. That's probably the biggest thing outside of all the cool stuff you do, is just the mindset and the mentality that you learn playing sports and being able to carry that with you as you grow up.
Awesome. Awesome. And you look at where you're at now, right? You're down in Tennessee, correct?
Yeah. Yep. Southern Tennessee.
Yeah. Southern Tennessee, just a beautiful area. Teleport me there now, man. It looks beautiful. You got the trees behind you, and it looks like a gorgeous setting. Talk to us about the travels down. What took you to Sewanee, the University of the South? What was appealing about it, and what's the state of the football program right now?
Yeah, so I think what was appealing, having grown up around college football my whole life, I knew what I wanted to find in a program. It didn't matter to me what the level was. I've been involved in all of them. But the biggest thing was being able to raise a family in a good spot and live close to campus. I think when my dad was coaching at St. Mary's, both him and my mom were driving 40 minutes opposite direction to get to work. And the commute, I just wanted no part of that going through it. And then also wanted to be around a great academic school. I think we're one of the top 40 liberal arts universities in the country. So our young men are getting a great education here. When we go into high schools and we talk to parents of the high school athletes, you can really sell them on, and not sell them, but you just talk about the school of, hey, this is an amazing opportunity. You're going to get a degree that you can do something with and really advance yourself in your professional career. And, we're not just trying to say, hey, you can come play football here for 4 years and maybe you graduate. I think it's, a 90% retention rate of freshmen come back for their sophomore year at the school. And we're over 80% graduation rate in 4 years, which is,
wow,
among the top in the country. And that's something we really push. And this campus is 13,000 acres, and it looks like this that you can see, right? It's, I'm right on our campus right now. Our house is right here. It's a minute and 45-second walk for me to go into work every day when you go through it. And so that's stuff you can't beat. We're coaching with great young men, and around a great school and an amazing location to raise a family.
That's great. That is great. Love hearing it. And I know you've worked extremely hard at perfecting your craft, and you've impacted many along the way, and you deserve everything that you've gotten. So Travis, great to hear that things are going well for you, the family, and the football program down there. Speaking of the football program, what are you most excited for once we get through all this?
Yeah, I think just to see everybody again, right? I think that's obviously get the whole team back. But I think we're a really young team. We played a ton of freshmen last year. We had about 32 freshmen that were playing each game, and what was really rare, we had 18 freshmen start. It was a weird mix of, how the roster was set up, but they're a really talented class, and those guys are now sophomores, which is really exciting. We have a really good senior class that's been playing, for all 3 years. They've been on the field with big contributions. So we feel excited about the program and ready to take the next step of going through. We feel like we've everything that we've been building the previous 3 years since we took it over is really about ready to break through.
That's great. That's great. The promise of the future and the promise of being able to see people face to face again. I like it. That's great. That's great. Well, as we kind of wind to a close here, I got some rapid fire questions. First things that come to mind, off the cuff, let me know what you think. We'll take a trip down memory lane, and we'll see. We'll get some good nuggets out of this.
All right.
First things first. You mentioned you coached under the legendary Joe Paterno. What's the number one thing that he would tell you today if he were still here?
Just wake up every day and be a great person. I think that's probably the number one thing. Make sure you're working hard and doing the best thing for the student athletes. I think that's probably the number one thing he'd tell you.
What's the number one thing you've learned that you think I should know?
Just be a great person every day. I think that's it. Wake up and try to make somebody smile each day.
Like it. Number one setting for a college football game that you played in?
That I've played in, personal as a player, would be Albion College and Sprinkle Sprinkle Stadium.
All right. And then number one setting for that you've been in when you coached?
Happy Valley at night, man. There's nothing that beats a whiteout at the Penn State. Nothing comes close to that at all.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Favorite meal on the road, professional, college, your time that you've had, number one meal?
Any barbecue, like our players are real big. We've been doing barbecue now since we've been down here. And to pick one of those, man, it'd be tough. There was a really good spot that we had up in Kentucky that the players like quite a bit. But the barbecue has been probably the number one thing.
Got it. Are you a ribs guy, ribs or brisket, or both?
Depends on the state, right? I think like each state has their own thing that's good.
Got it.
You have to know, where you're at. If you're in Kentucky, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, Texas, you got to go with what that state's really good at.
All right, then I'll get a handful here to wrap up. St. Mary's College, bring back the football program, yes or no?
Yeah, of course, man. They need to. Should never left.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Last couple. Looking at the future, we got a schedule of football games that are out there, and hopefully we get some confirmation they're going to be played. You thumbs up or thumbs down that you think we're going to have a full schedule this year for football?
Man, can I go like here?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, we're getting a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love for it to be a full schedule. But with our league and all the travel, like I don't know, if they're going to let us fly. So there's a lot of things up in the air on that at the college level.
Sure, absolutely. And then the last couple things just about the football program. Do you have a rallying cry or a mantra for the 2020 season?
We've been using Forged on the Mountain is kind of what we started that in January. I think it goes back to the history of our university. Like I said, our campus is 13,000 acres. We're located on top of the Cumberland Plateau, so about 2,000 feet up. And the land used to be the Sewanee Mining Company's land. And so just figure like the forge part of it. We're located on the mountain, but two, just gives you that imagery of our guys are working really hard up here to be pretty good. And we have a team that's known as the greatest college football team ever, the 1899 team. You got to look it up, man. They won 5 games in 6 days. They shut everybody out. It was Texas A&M, LSU, Tulane, and Ole Miss. They went on like an over 2,000-mile train trip, played 5 games in 6 days, and they're known as the Iron Men. Yeah, and so tying into that too. So like that whole the Forest on the Mountain.
I love it. I love it. That is great. I'm definitely going to look that up. I'm a football historian, so I'm gonna dig deep into that one. And then the last one, man, we like to end or close the podcast with a positive message. There's a lot going on in the world right now. I know, that there's coaches, athletic directors of all levels that are listening to the podcast or watching it on YouTube. What message of positivity would you share with people as we sign off today?
Yeah, I think be somebody worth following. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I can say is all your actions and what you're doing. Just make sure that you're somebody worth following. And if you look back and kind of, hey, would I follow this person and what you're doing, and make sure that you're using that mindset when you make your decisions each day as you go through.
Love it. Well said. Well, Travis, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your story, sharing the wisdom and all that you've learned in your travels as a football coach. I know that the student athletes there at Sewanee are going to be better men for having being led by you. Congratulations on all the future success to come. I'm excited for you to be able to be reunited, reconnected with your players, and continue to develop the football program there. So thanks for coming on. And real quick, last plug, is there anything any website or anything like that we can direct the student athletes to get involved in terms of voting in their community?
Yeah, I think if you look at, we'll create a Twitter deal, just a home vote advantage. So just look at that, and that should pop up, and the link will be right there. That you just takes you to everything that you need to do to register and get the absentee ballot and everything you need. It accesses all the state sites directly. Like there's no second party websites or anything being used. So it's totally transparent, and we're just trying to get people to help out their communities.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for doing that, Travis. I encourage everybody that's listening, coaches, make sure your student athletes know about this home vote advantage. I think a great program. It's going to make meaningful impact in the communities that your student athletes come from. And Travis, again, thanks again for everything that you're doing for the game of football and for your student athletes and for student athletes really across the country. We appreciate everything that you've done.
Thanks. Yeah, had a
You
good
got
time.
it, Travis. All right, buddy. We'll get you back on the show again, and good luck this season.
That'll be good. Looking forward to it.
All right, bud. Take care.